Hey, everybody, it's Dana Shea, and you are listening to the Rebuilding Us Marriage podcast. I am so happy that you all are here on this episode with me today. You guys, I have some really big news that I want to share with you at the very top of the show. If you are on my email list, you already have heard this information. But if you're not on my email list, first of all, you need to get on my email list. And you can do that simply by going to danashay.com/email. I do not spam you. I only send you helpful information that's going to enrich and enhance your relationships. And then I also get really personal in my email list. And so one of the emails that I shared in my community was how I have a new TV hosting job. Y'all, this is literally my dream come true. Ever since I was a little girl, I would come home from school, I would get my popcorn or my snack, and I would plop on my living room couch, turn my little 13-inch TV on, and I would watch the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I remember being a little girl thinking, I want to do that one day. I'm going to do that one day. And you know how you have like dreams as a kid and then life happens, right? You grow up, you get a real job, quote unquote, and you kind of forget about those dreams. Well, I had this amazing opportunity fall into my lap just a few weeks ago. And so I have been hosting our local NBC affiliates lifestyle show. And I have been having the time of my life. And so if you want to check out a few episodes, I'll be sure to link to the show. It's called the Hampton Road Show. I'll be sure to link to the show and the show notes of this podcast. But let me just tell you this, and this has nothing to do with what we're going to be talking about today, but I just really feel compelled right now to tell you that if there is a dream or a desire on your heart, maybe something that you've wanted for a long time that you just kind of let go, that you just kind of forgotten about, I want to encourage you to go after your dreams. Do not let anyone or anyone stop you, because you never know when those dreams are going to come true. So for me, I literally left the station just a couple hours ago, and I'm here because this is what I also love to do. I love encouraging you in your relationships. Today, I want us to have a conversation that I often have with a lot of my single girlfriends. I have a lot of single girlfriends who really want to be married. And of course, they know that I'm a marriage coach. So they're always asking me for advice, which I love. They're my friends. Of course, I want to help them out. One of the things that I always tell them, though, is there is a specific time that you need to be working on your marriage. And I'm going to tell you when that time is as we go throughout this episode. Before we get into some of that nitty gritty, I want to open this up by sharing a story with you. So I was coaching a client, or I should say a client couple. Yeah, a client couple. And let's just call them Evelyn and David. Of course, that's not their real names. Of course, I always protect my client's confidentiality, but just for the purposes of this episode, we'll call them Evelyn and David. Evelyn and David came to me after being married for nearly 30 years. That's a long time, right? I mean, that's nearly 3 decades of marriage. And what looked like a great marriage on the outside was actually a crumbling marriage on the inside. They had it going on. Everybody thought that they were like the perfect couple, right? But let me tell you a little bit about some of the things that was going on in their relationship. They had one, just a basic lack of respect for one another. They also had major trust issues on both sides. Both of them had been unfaithful to each other in the past, so that they weren't coming to me with help getting out of infidelity. They had, quote, done the work already, so they thought. But what really lingered were these horrific trust issues that they had. They also had significant debt. They had a lot of stuff, right? To look at their life, you'd be like, wow, like Gucci this, Gucci that, like trips, all the things, but they were significantly in debt. And then they also had just, well, I should say David had, because of this lack of respect, David also was pretty misogynistic. As a matter of fact, he didn't want to work with me in the beginning because he was kind of anti-woman, which was very interesting. But we ended up working together, and he and I actually became great friends. I mean, his wife and I were great friends as well, but we hit it off is what I'm trying to say. So this couple comes to me, they're having all these challenges, they're having all of these issues, but again, everything looked great on the outside. And because everything looked so great on the outside, this was actually one of the reasons that they didn't seek help earlier with me or with anyone, because they were kind of putting on this facade. And to reach out for help meant that they first had to acknowledge to themselves that they were not good. And then they had to acknowledge to everybody else, our marriage is not good. Hey there, Dana Shay breaking into the episode real quick to ask you, have you already subscribed to this channel? If not, why not? I know that you love what you see, so be sure to go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel right now. And while you're at it, turn those notifications on so that you can be notified every time I release a new video or short. So welcome to the community. Let's get back into the episode. So after I had worked with them for quite a while, we worked together for well over a year, we started seeing some significant changes in the relationship. Today, I will tell you that Evelyn and David are absolutely thriving, and I am in constant communication with them. And what has happened in their marriage is nothing short of miraculous, but it's only because they committed to doing the work to improve their marriage. They could have gone on, right? Like nobody would have known. They could have just gone on and just pretended like everything was good. They could have continued to go through the motions of a good marriage. They could have continued to spend crazy amounts of money on this lifestyle that they were protecting. But thankfully, they had the sense and the wisdom enough to say, we need help. And so today they're thriving, and I'm super, super proud of them. But when I went back to the beginning of their love story, I started seeing some patterns. And these patterns I have seen in a lot of couples who are struggling. The first thing specific to Evelyn and David was that they grew up in these families that put on airs. These parents who strove for perfection and would almost make them feel guilty when they had weaknesses. So they learned, both of them, separate families, right? But they learned as kids how to play the game. They learned how to pretend like things were good when they weren't good. Another thing was success was an idol in both of their families. They came from pretty successful families. They both had both their parents in their home, and both of their parents were pretty successful. Now, one of them had a stay at home mom, but she was like the bomb.com mom, if you know what I mean. Like she was there for every event. She was like that mom who baked cookies, when the kids came home from school. Like she was amazing. And so both of their parents, both sets of their parents were really successful. And so success became like this idol in both of their families. They also, both Evelyn and David, carried a lot of shame for different reasons. One of them had some significant childhood trauma, and that childhood trauma was never really addressed. And therefore, that particular spouse carried a lot of shame into this marriage well before they ever got married. And then another thing that I realized when I was thinking back to their love story is they did not do any premarital counseling. Now, I am a huge proponent for premarital counseling, and not just because I do it, by the way, but I am a big proponent in premarital or for premarital counseling because you do not know what you do not know. Marriage is not a game. Marriage is serious business, right? We all know that. But there are certain conversations. If you have a good premarital counselor, there are certain conversations that that counselor or that coach will help you to have that you need to have before you get married. Like, what are your views on debt? That's a great conversation to have before you get married. Because if you're marrying somebody and they've got $50,000 worth of debt and you have $500 worth of debt, you're going to have problems day one. So there were lots and lots of things that David and Evelyn didn't work on because they didn't know. They never had premarital counseling. So I want us to talk about the best time to work on your marriage. Do you work on your marriage when you first start noticing there's a problem? Do you work on your marriage when you've kind of tried a few different options and things aren't really working the way that you thought? Do you work on your marriage as a last ditch effort to divorce? If you've been a longtime listener of this podcast back when it was called Real Relationship Talk, you remember that I used to end every episode by saying, a good relationship isn't one that works. A good relationship is one where you put in the work. I often get asked from people, what is the work? Right? Because we know marriage takes work, but what is the work? How do I put in the work? And when do I put in the work? So I'm going to tell you right now that the best time to work on your marriage is before you get married. That's the ideal time. But the next best time to work on your marriage is now. I'm going to say that again. The best time to work on your marriage is before you get married. The next best time to work on your marriage is now. Right now. Do not delay. There is this thought that we have, like, I'll get to that later. We'll make time for that later. When the kids grow up, we'll really get serious about our marriage. When my career settles down, then we can focus on our marriage. When things stop being so crazy around the house, we'll work on our marriage. And let me tell you something. I don't know how your life is set up, but time doesn't just come find me. Like, I don't wake up and time is sitting there with a cup of coffee in the hand being like, hey, you ready to get to work? No, that's not how life works. Whatever you make time for gets done, and whatever you don't make time for, it will not get done. I have a lot of well-meaning people who reach out to me and they say things like, I believe that you can help me with X, Y, and Z. And then when we get on a discovery call or when I send them information, they're not ready to work. And let me tell you something. If nothing changes, nothing changes. If you don't make significant changes in how you're doing things, nothing is going to change for you, my friend. It does not matter how good your intentions are. So the best time to work on your marriage is before you get married or now. So I want to talk about what is the work. What does it mean for someone to say marriage takes work? What does that look like? Like, if you said that to a 15-year-old, what would they think? Right? So this is my working definition. When people say, what does it mean to put in the work? I often say that the work is simply just a daily commitment to show up intentionally for yourself and for your spouse in order for your relationship to be everything that it can be. It's a daily commitment. So in my marriage, I have to show up and do the work. You guys, I don't get a free pass. I have to forgive. I have to check my pride at the door. I have to humble myself. I have to choose to be a good listener. I have to do all of these things. And so do you. This is what it means to do the work. So this might mean like getting help for your unhealed traumas. If you have any addictive behaviors, getting help for that, real help for that, overcoming things that are causing you as a person to not show up and be the best that you can be in your marriage. That's doing the work. Some other ways that you can do the work are putting appropriate boundaries around your time and your integrity, right? And it's never my job. I never tell my clients what boundaries they should have because that's a personal choice, but I will help you to learn what boundaries are and how to put them into place. But we all need boundaries. Every relationship, I've done episodes on that, right? It's not just the bad relationships that need boundaries. Every relationship needs boundaries. So part of doing the work is learning what boundaries to put around your time and your integrity. Learning how to listen and be present. Listening is a skill that we have to learn. We're not born learning or knowing how to listen. Now, you're born with hearing. You can hear, but most of us have never been taught how to listen. And that is a huge part of doing the work in a marriage, is learning how to listen, listening to what your spouse is saying and what they're not saying. And then, and this is not an exhaustive list, of course. I mean, I could write a book, and maybe I will, about what it means doing the work. But another thing that I want to tell you is it's walking out the process of forgiveness. If you do not forgive on the regular, your relationships will die. Every relationship needs forgiveness because every relationship, it carries with it the opportunities for you to get hurt. The best relationships, the best friendships, you're going to hurt the people that you're in relationships with, hopefully unintentionally, and you're going to be hurt. And so if you don't know how to walk the process of forgiveness out, your relationships are going to be stunted. So when I say doing the work, I want you to think about, what is this daily commitment that I am doing? Well, how am I showing up in my relationships every day? What work am I doing? You should be able to quantify that. Someone should be able to look at your relationship and be like, "Oh, yeah. I see the work that she's doing over there. Oh, I see the work that he's doing over there." That's what it means to do the work. Okay? So the work is ongoing, but it does not have to be laborious. I have a great marriage, and it's a great marriage because we made it great. It's not great just because we wanted it to be great. It was not great for a long, long, long time. And what weren't we doing? We were not doing the work. We were being victims. We were blaming and shaming, and we had all these excuses and all the things, right? But when we said, wait a minute, we are not victims of our lives or each other. We can choose to turn this thing around if we really want to. Now, are there going to be sacrifices made? Yes. Are you going to have to kill your pride every day? Absolutely. There are things that you're going to have to do that you aren't going to like. There are things that come with doing the work that are not comfortable, that can be hard sometimes. But if you commit to it, anything is possible. So if you did not work on your marriage before you got married, do not feel condemned. Don't feel like, dang it, you know what? I wish I would have listened to this episode when I was 19. I wasn't even podcasting when you were 19. But the truth is, regardless of whether you did the work before you got married, if you've never done any work, when's the next best time to work on your marriage? Right now, today, not tomorrow, today. Not when you get money, not when you can afford coaching, not when you can buy the book. It's today. You can do something today for free. You can learn how to close your mouth when your spouse is talking. I mean, that's free, right? You can learn how to forgive. You can show up and get off your phone and be present in a conversation. Like, there's so many things that you can commit to today that will make such a huge difference in your relationship. So I want to encourage you all, if you aren't married or if you know of a couple who they just got engaged, right? Like, I know a couple of people who just got engaged over the last month. And of course, I'm sending them this episode, right? But if you are not married, the best time to start is now. I have a whole library of podcast episodes. I have series that are dedicated to before you get married. So you can find that on my website. Just go to danashay.com and the little search icon, just type in premarital. Okay. But not only do I want you to listen to the podcast episodes, but you need premarital counseling. Don't wait until you got a ring on it to get premarital counseling. I coached a couple who were dating and they were thinking about marriage, and I did their premarital counseling. Why? That's the greatest time, because let me tell you something. When you have bought that dress, when you have gotten that venue or in place, you're not calling off that wedding. You're like, we're going to have to make this work. And I don't like you and you don't like me, but we getting married, right? I mean, let's be real. So that's why it's important that you do premarital even before you get engaged, because then you can really have some honest conversations and you can decide then, wait, is this somebody that I really want to spend the rest of my life with? So the best time to work on your marriage is before you get married. Now, for those of you who are already married, do not fear, okay? Because there's still time for you. And this is why I talk about the ultimate couples checklist so much. I'm giving you 5 simple tips. Now, notice I said simple, not easy, because they're simple to do, but you're going to have to buck it up a little bit, okay, to do these things, but they're not hard, you all. So I'm giving you 5 simple steps to build the intimacy again in your marriage. And remember, if you've listened to the whole intimacy series, I'm not talking about sexual intimacy here. I'm talking about the connection in your marriage. So if you have not already gotten that, then I want to encourage you to go to danashay.com/ultimate couple. Okay. Everybody can get that. And you can start going through that checklist today. So be encouraged, friend. It's not too late for you. I truly believe that no marriage is too far gone if the people in the marriage are willing to do the work. You're doing the work by listening to this podcast, but this is just the beginning. I want you to make sure that you get those resources in your hand. So A, get the ultimate couples checklist. And then B, if you are engaged or if you're thinking about becoming engaged, get some premarital counseling. You can find information about the premarital counseling that I offer at danashay.com/coaching. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Make sure that you've reviewed and rated the podcast if you haven't already. Share it with your friends. Share it with somebody who you know needs to hear what we just discussed today. Or maybe they need to hear another episode on my podcast. Together, we will help to improve relationships and marriages all over the world. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I love you all so much, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.